It's been a while, but I have been doing some thinking and I have some more politically incorrect thoughts to share with you today. And specifically, we're going to talk about the 6 C's of socialism. In a previous video, I commented on socialism in Scandinavia, which is held up to be the model by many of our political activists as the model for the United States. And I point out some uncomfortable realities about the way socialism, so-called socialism, has been implemented in Scandinavian countries. And today I'm going to talk specifically about why socialism, as correctly defined, is a very, very bad idea. Now, if you ask 10 people what socialism means, you'll get 10 different answers. But essentially, the essence of it is that the government controls the means of production. That means the government owns, confiscates, owns, controls, manages capital. And what is capital? Capital is the stock of tools, facilities, equipment, machinery, and know-how that a society accumulates over time, and it's used not for immediate consumption, but as an indirect means to create items which are then consumed. So all your factories, any kind of industrial facility, any kind of computers, and all of those things, you don't eat them, you don't wear them, but we have them because they either provide us with the product we do need, or they provide us with a service. And that is what capital is. And in a capitalist society, the capital stock of a country is owned by private individuals. In socialism, on the other hand, the capital stock is owned and managed by the government. That may surprise some people who think that socialism is just some more free stuff and everything else stays the same. It's not. We've talked about this in the past, and I'm going to talk some more about it today. I said there are 6 C's under the banner of socialism that basically illustrate or argue that socialism is a very bad idea. I mean, you'll hear everyone say it has never worked. Show me an example of where it's worked, but then they don't seem to be able to dig down to the next level and explain why it doesn't work. So people then dismiss that by saying, well, those countries didn't do real socialism, or they didn't do it correctly. We'll do it right, and everyone will be living in nirvana. So what is the first C of socialism? It's cater. What is a cater? I bet you've never heard of that word. A cater is a card-carrying party member. All right, it's a Soviet term, and they use it in a phrase, namely cater deployment. What does cater deployment mean? Cater deployment means you send your party faithful political apparatchiks out into the economy, and you have them run and control the essential elements of the economy. So they manage all of these government-controlled entities. They're not managed by professional managers. They're managed by political appointees called cadres. Now, that's very bad news. Why is that bad news? Well, that brings me to my second reason why socialism is a very bad idea. Competence. These people do not have the competence to run major industrial, financial, corporation or manufacturing companies. They don't have the training, they don't have the right mentality, they don't have the experience. Can you imagine AOC's brother being appointed to manage Ford Motor Company? That will happen under socialism because they appoint party faithful, card carrying socialists to these positions. They don't appoint people on merit. So you have cadres who lack competence. What's the third C? Corruption. These political players are not paid a great deal of money, yet they control a vast amount of other people's money. So what happens? Half of them become corrupt. And your money, rather than being used toward the common good, which they profess to be the goal, gets siphoned off and ends up paying for apartments in Nice, villas in Spain, castles in Switzerland, fancy cars, Rolexes, and Swiss bank accounts. That's where your money ends up. Corruption. That's the third C. What is the fourth C? The fourth C of socialism is competition or lack thereof. Under a socialist model where the government runs all of the major industry and businesses, there is no competition, right? They're not going to continue to have Ford and General Motors and, Chrysler and Elon Musk's outfit, whatever that's called. They're not going to have all those separate car companies. They're going to put them all under one guy, and they're going to call it the government car company. And what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with a Fiat Lada, which is the ridiculous econobox that the Russians were allowed to have, or at least those that qualified were allowed to have and drive. It was a piece of junk. Why was it a piece of junk? There's no competition. Without competition, there's no incentive to please the customer. There's no incentive to innovate. There's no incentive to cut costs. There's no incentive to be efficient. There's no incentive to deliver anything on time. So what you get is what you experience at the DMV. Sorry, we're closed for lunch. Take a number. Come back tomorrow. You didn't fill out the form right. Go to the back of the line. That's what you get when there's no competition under socialism. I think that's 4 C's now. The fifth C is not really a C. It's incentives, but there's a C in the word. So I'm cheating and I'm calling it a C word. There are no incentives, as I've mentioned, for government-run companies to do anything well or on time or within budget. The incentives are all political. Who do you think they're going to appoint to management positions within the company? The best people? No. They're going to appoint the politically correct people. So you're going to get DEI as being the ruling doctrine that governs who gets the management positions in these companies. You're going to get party affiliation as a key selection criteria. Are you a card-carrying member of the Socialist Party? No. Go to the bottom of the totem pole. Yes. Oh, you're going to get an appointment to manage subsection A of the government car company. So the incentives are all distorted. They're not there. There's no profit incentive. People think a profit incentive is a bad thing, an evil thing. It's not. To make a profit, you have to create something of value that is worth more than the components that were used to create it. So it's a good thing. You create something that's worth more than what you started with, more than the raw materials and labor that you use to make the product, for example. Is making a loss a good thing? No, because you're creating something, essentially you're turning idiomatically, you're turning gold into lead. You're supposed to turn lead into gold, not gold into lead. And under socialism, what you get is lead. So incentives are all distorted under socialism. And the sixth and final C is criminality. This is a criminal philosophy. It's nothing more than stealing the fruits of people's labors, and usually your most productive people are the ones that have stuff to steal, and redistributing it to your friends and your political base. This is actually prohibited under the U.S. Constitution. There's to be no unreasonable search and seizure. The government can't seize your assets. That's what one of the things that makes our Constitution great. Well, under socialism, that's exactly what they plan to do, to seize your assets. They're going to seize and seize and seize until there's nothing left to seize. And then you get Cuba, where people live in shoebox apartments with no power. They drive cars that look like antique museum pieces, if they drive a car at all. They live in squalor. As the Donald says, the end result of socialism is squalor, death, squalor, and destruction, or words to that effect. But most people dismiss that as Trump speak. It's not Trump speak. That's what happens. And I guess there's a final and much more sinister aspect of socialism that I haven't touched on. When things collapse and nirvana does not materialize, and the sheep that voted for this calamity realize they've been bamboozled and they start to resist, then all the cadres and all of the political bigwigs realize that their cushy jobs are now on the line because there's going to be a social upheaval. There's going to be an attempt to overthrow the system. And so what do? They clamp down. Anyone who voices, who protests, ends up in a cell if they're lucky, or underground if they're not, under 6 feet under if they're not. So you end up with death. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people die, especially those that are more independent thinking, more educated, and more likely to see through this this trap, this fraud that has been perpetrated. So what do you do with them? Well, the socialist governments put them in concentration camps. They work them to death. They starve them to death. They beat them to death, or they just kill them. Castro famously would go out every day and kill a few himself just to participate in the killing with his own handgun. So there you have the naked truth about socialism. Don't think it's some benign, kind, shared good, feel-good thing. It's not. It's the most evil system ever developed by man. And it's never worked, and it never will work. So all of you people who thinks that socialism is the answer, think again. It's not. Believe me. You can add to the list China, Russia are the classics, Venezuela, Cuba, the more modern socialist failures, Zimbabwe, South Africa. South Africa was once a prosperous, vibrant, growing economy. It's now a mess. It's now a smoldering ruin of what it once was. And if you want to go and look at squalor, go visit Johannesburg. Believe me, people, there's no free stuff. I've said that before. There is no free stuff. So don't sit there expecting someone to feel sorry for you and give you stuff. Get off your duff and make something of yourself. That's it for today. Thank you.